Ladies and gentlemen, for Robo Awesome's 19th RoboCast, we have something very special for you all. But before that, I must get a few things out of the way. First, of course you all know me, I go by many names, usually ones that are obscene, but most call me Jessie. Second, we have Aron, who for all practical purposes should actually be in the hospital for overdosing on Pokemon. He's the only guy I know who can catch a Pikachu intravenously. Last, but not least, we have Lucas, who has such a deep voice, he got his driver's license at 12, and has been contacted by George Lucas to do the voice of Darth Vader in the special edition.
Isn't that nice?
Now, on to business. We have a special treat for everyone out there. We are privileged enough to spend some time tonight with Aubrey Norris of Deep Silver. That's right. The only woman in history to be able to play video games one-handed is here to tell us all sorts of exciting information about all her wacky adventures involving Dead Island and Risen 2.
I am also a Pokemon.
Ah, we have a real-life Pokemon with us.
Watch out, I might catch you.
She's going to try to catch you.
And a Norris. That's a really fucked up combination.
Yeah.
Two things which are awesome.
Does that mean you have a beard with a fist in it?
Exactly.
Oh.
And I can shoot fire out of several orifices.
No.
At once?
That's super effective. So yeah, so what's everybody playing right now?
I'll go first.
Thanks for stepping up to the plate.
Last time, so.
I just sort of finished Lego Pirates of the Caribbean. Fun.
Sort of finished.
Yeah, I didn't want to play through the content that related to the movie I haven't seen yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Just do it. It doesn't matter. The movie's terrible.
Hey.
It's bad.
I heard it didn't hold up with the other three, so.
That's really been it for me lately, though. Unexciting in my video game world.
I have a really bad habit of only playing games that have been, like, in my queue for 5 years.
Oh, yeah?
Because I just have so many games, like, that I still have to play, and I just don't have time to play them all on time. I can't remember the last game that I actually played when it came, okay, Borderlands was the last game that I actually played when it came out. And only because it came out on my birthday, and I was so excited to get it, and it was like the second coming of Jesus when it arrived. But,
Did you get a towel?
Did I what?
Get a towel?
Did I
Never
get
mind.
No,
Never
I don't.
What?
So, right now I am playing a game, ironically, but I will not say what it is. But it is a game that makes me miss Risen.
No.
That's all I'll say.
It's not Risen 2, is it?
No. No, it's definitely not.
Lucas?
Alright, I finally decided to give Mortal Kombat a chance.
Oh, God.
And, I don't hate it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's blowing my mind how little I hate it.
I actually listened to a podcast from another site, and they were claiming it was the Game of the Year material. I was like, oh, that sounds pretty far-fetched, but...
No. No.
That's
But,
scary.
It's a lot of fun, just mostly because of how much crap there is to do. And it has, like... I want to be careful with my word choice here, but it has a very good story mode for a fighting game.
Really?
The word good being used with a little bit of hyperbole, but
There's a story in Mortal Kombat.
yeah, it's
Oh my
it's
God.
about
Fighting?
yeah, fighting
Really?
and
It's
like
about
a bunch of Baraka
Let's
clones or
fighting
something.
love. Sorry, I had to do that. Okay, I couldn't do
That
that.
works.
The plot's
Wait.
like the two movies plus time travel or something. It's pretty bad, but it's almost like you're kind of playing through the movie because there's like all kinds of goofy plot scenes, and then like a fight will happen, and you just go seamlessly into it from the cutscenes. So that's kind of cool. And the mechanics themselves are a lot better than like every other game in the series. Not that that's saying very much, but it's playable. So.
Oh, that's definitely a plus.
Yeah.
It's good they're finally getting their stuff together.
They're starting to.
I just recently got a PS3. Hooray.
Nice.
And I've been
Good
playing
timing.
Demon Souls, which is really fun. I like to think of it as Monster Hunter and Dragon Age had a baby, and that baby keeps kicking me in the balls. It's very fun, but very difficult at the same time. Like, it doesn't care what your plans are, it's going to ruin them. And Killzone 2, I've been playing that, which is really fun. But that's pretty much all I've been playing lately.
I've never actually touched a Killzone game. Does it have anything that sets it apart from all the other, like, armored dude going around shooting people games?
Well, you're not really that armored because you're not wearing a helmet and you have a stupid haircut. So you could easily get shot in the face and it would hurt.
Thing on all the box art, not the character you play as?
Oh, no, those are the bad things.
Okay.
Those things you want dead, and they're very angry. And I think they breathe in methane, but I could be wrong.
Breathe in methane.
Which, I guess if I breathed in methane, I'd be upset all the time, too.
Right. That's a very good reason to be evil.
Yeah. Damn our biology.
I'd certainly be in a pretty bad mood.
Well, us having Aubrey here wasn't just, so we could shoot the breeze. We had other motives involving asking her
Oh shit!
a lot of very, very hard questions that is going to make you sweat.
I'm frightened.
So anyways, try to dodge a bullet, Aubrey?
Anyways.
So we have all sorts of wacky questions for you. If you'd be so kind to do your best. I know there's certain restrictions you have to follow, but, give us a bone here and there.
I'm ready.
So does anyone want to start, or I've got a whole barrage, so...
Go for it, Jessie.
All right. Can you tell us how Dead Island will compare to, like, other zombie games?
Wow, that's a question I could write, like, a whole, PhD thesis about. I think the way I like to think about it is Dead Island takes a lot of things that people love about other zombie games and puts them in one package and adds its own cool stuff in there. So, obviously, 4-player co-op is kind of like the hallmark of the game. So people who like Left 4 Dead are going to love that you can play through the whole game, drop in, drop out with your friends. But unlike Left 4 Dead, it has a melee focus. So people who were into, the Condemned series will really like the melee focus in Dead Island. That's not to say there aren't guns, because there are. It's just Dead Island tries to take a little bit more of a realistic approach, or more of a serious approach to the concept of having this gorgeous tropical island be totally thrown into chaos by a zombie apocalypse, or as serious as you can possibly be with the concept of a zombie apocalypse. But there's no a lot of comparisons have been drawn to Dead Rising and stuff like that because of the weapon crafting system, and while we do have a really we have a couple thousand weapons in the game between all the different combinations you can make and the upgrades and stuff like that. So a really robust crafting system, which I think is really cool because I've always been a big crafter in every RPG I've played. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, you guys have a crafting system and this is a Dead Rising clone. Well, no. No, because you can't pick up, some guy's leg and attach it to an electric guitar and make something out of it,
That sounds like the best weapon ever.
That's not, now we do have some weapons that are, obviously we didn't want the game to be boring, so we do have some things in there that are, a little further into the fantasy side, like, an electric machete, and we have these little throwable C4 bombs called the sticky bomb, which are really awesome. They do a shitload of damage. But so we have we have weapon crafting, sort of like people will like out of Dead Rising, but it's more serious. And then on top of that, the things that Dead Island does that I think are really unique is Dead Island is an RPG. So it's open world, completely open world. You're picking up quests, you're helping people out, you're deciding whether, your decisions kind of determine whether or not they live or survive. You're getting people to safety, you're doing favors for them, since the 4 characters that play in the game are the only ones who are immune to the zombie apocalypse, or they, for some reason, nobody can figure out why, but they can't be turned into zombies when they're bitten. So therefore, literally this entire island is depending on you. So it is, it's an RPG, and it's not, a lot of zombie games are very, similar settings, it's like at night, in a city, real dark, but we have more of this, this juxtaposition between this gorgeous island and all this carnage that's going on. So it's kind of like you're in this place that you look at and you're like, man, I could really take a vacation here and it would be awesome. It would be like the time of my life. But yet that guy just got his head bitten off over there. It's kind of like not something. It's not the kind of setting you would expect a zombie game to be in. So that's pretty cool.
So you mean this island doesn't have like bazookas and like AK-47s just all over the place?
Yeah, no. When you go to Benoi...
Oh, look, it's an AK-47 tree. Just shake it and use your weapon.
Exactly. It's like the AK-47 tree is the new banana tree. It's, if you go to any kind of resort, you're not going to, walk up to one of the guests at the hotel and, break into their room and find, a small military, militia arsenal,
What if they're having an NRA convention?
Or at least, unless you break into my hotel room.
Oh, yeah.
This arsenal. But it's
full of pipe bombs and liquor.
Yeah. And there are guns on the island, but they're really rare. So, for an example, we just, we did a press tour with 40 minutes of playable code, and in that 40 minutes, we found one gun that was on a black market vendor. And then the ammo is also going to be limited. You're going to be able to pick up ammo, off of police officers, and the ammo and the guns are kind of in situationally appropriate places. You'll find them maybe off of a local, maybe a police officer, something like that. People who would logically have a gun will have guns that you can take. But we try to limit it because we feel like the melee combat is, focusing on melee makes it so much more tense. It really makes the atmosphere of the combat really, really tense because you've got 3 zombies coming at you at the same time, and you have to tactically decide which one are you going to take out first, and what limbs are you going to go for, because it's not melee combat like button mashing at all. Mm-hmm. It's where you have reticule and you have to aim your shots, and you only have a certain amount of stamina, so you have to, make sure that when you swing at somebody, you're not actually wasting your shot, or you'll run out of stamina and then you won't be able to do anything. You'll have to wait until your stamina bar comes back. So you have to really make sure that when you take a swing at somebody, it counts. And you have to really kind of plan out quickly which, what limbs are you going to go for. If the zombie has a weapon in his hand, are you going to try to cut off his arm so he won't be able to attack you with the weapon? Are you just going to go straight for the head? If it's a really powerful zombie, are you going to try to take his legs off so he can't run at you? So you kind of have to make those decisions.
Go straight for the dick.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nothing worse than zombie dick. Or if a zombie teabagged you, oh my god.
Can I interrupt this wonderful discussion with another question? Before we get too far into zombie genital abuse.
Oh.
I'm curious, as far as the focus on melee combat goes, how the mechanics of that'll work. So I'm used to, melee combat in first-person games just being mashing on the trigger or something. Is there going to be some sort of maybe combo type feature?
Think of it like if you were to take shooter mechanics and then translate them into melee. So you have to aim your shots. You're going to have to aim at different body parts. Wherever your weapon impacts, there's a layered damage system. So depending on what kind of weapon you're using, like if you're using a bludgeoning weapon, you're more likely to break bones. And you'll actually see, there will be notices that'll pop up that'll tell you, okay, like it'll say break, and that means that you broke a bone. You'll actually be able to hack off limbs. You can hack off every single limb at many, many different points, heads. But you have to aim your shots. It's not like, you're just walking in and, hitting a button. And how you attack depends on, there's actually two different control schemes. One is a more simplified control scheme where it's just the simplified version is kind of like a back and forth, and then as you level your character up and you go through their skill trees, there's additional things that you can unlock in terms of actions. Like there's one that's basically like a curb stomp, which is like my favorite. Yeah, so there's stuff like that. There's a rage mode that you go into where they get double XP for killing everything, and they can take things down really quickly. So there's a bunch of different moods or modes that you unlock as you level up your character, depending on how you allocate your points in their skill trees. So that's kind of the simplified mode, is where you're simply aiming and hitting a trigger to attack, and your character is basically swinging back and forth at the spot that you're aiming at. There's also another control scheme that we put in that's a little bit more complex, where you actually are both aiming and the character will duplicate the motions that you do on one of the analog sticks in terms of how they swing their weapon, like whether they swing from top left to bottom right or vice versa or whatever. They'll basically duplicate whatever you do on the analog stick.
Wow, that's really neat, actually.
Yeah. It could be like, if people want to get like really hardcore into it, they could use that control type. But if they just want to be able to aim their shots, which is really, like, I can't stress how important actually aiming your shots is in this game. It's one of the things I like best about the melee combat is that it's not brainless. You really have to kind of think about, how you're going to attack each enemy. Like, let me give you an example. Like I said before, if you have a zombie, sometimes zombies will be people who were turned when they were defending themselves. So they've got like a pipe in their hand. Your best shot with that zombie is to cut off their arm so they can't do as much damage to you. Or there's also a huge throwing mechanic in the game. Any weapon, anything other than a firearm can be thrown at an enemy and do damage. And it's actually pretty fucking epic. It's really one of my favorite. Yeah, it's one of my favorite combat mechanics ever. You can take like your machete, for example, and throw it into an enemy, and it'll stick in the enemy's body. And then you can like sneak up behind the enemy and pull the fucking machete out and finish it off with the same machete.
So is there a lot of like environment interaction too?
I don't know. Give me an example.
Like like you could like damage a wall and then like take like a brick off of it and throw it at a zombie or something, or.
Well, there's no destructible environments, because if we went that far, we'd never be finished with the game. So, obviously we had to draw a line somewhere. But, I mean, the weapons are...
Like, if you see, like, a chair on the ground, you could pick it up and hit the zombie with it, or...
Well, there's certain things, like, there are pipes that you can pick up, like paddles, things that, kind of make sense in terms of, like, they would be there. But not anything like... It's something that you could see being a legitimate weapon. You're not going to be able to pick up, like, a beach umbrella and beat somebody with that. It's more things that you can actually see as being a viable weapon for a long time. Like, like I said, pipes, knives, wooden planks. But a lot of them are, like I said, just kind of strewn throughout the environment, and you pick them up as you find them. The weapons also degrade. That's another thing that I found really interesting is, if you pick up like a pipe from somewhere, it's not going to last you forever. It only has, a finite amount of damage it can take before it's totally broken and worthless. So you also kind of have to, you're going to want to kind of pick your battles, because if you're trying to fight every zombie that you see, your weapons are all going to break. And then what are you going to do if you're out of weapons at work? You know, like, what if you run out? That's kind of the whole, like, survival aspect of the game, is you kind of have to figure out, you know, how sturdy are my weapons? You know, how do I have enough that I can actually deal with this conflict, or should I get the hell out of here?
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like, would it be fair to assume that this game has a pretty fair emphasis on realism, at least as far as like zombie stuff goes?
Yeah, definitely. That's really what we're going for. We're not really going for the whole, like, campy zombie, you know, kind of thing. It's really trying to be a very realistic take on zombies.
So my character wouldn't survive by just hiding in a hut until the game's over?
Yeah, no.
Oh, because that's what I would do if the zombie apocalypse happened.
Right?
I thought you were gonna throw up on yourself.
No, I would probably throw up on myself while playing Dead Island.
With the amount of gore in Dead Island, I can probably say that may actually be true, because it can get really disgusting. Really nasty.
Well, I have a problem with first-person games in general, but I'm going to give it a shot. I might just need a box of Dramamine or something.
Yeah, that's what you need to do. There you go.
I can see my review for that, like me all dazed out and zoned out on Dramamine. Hey, this game was bloody and shit.
That'd be awesome.
The end.
Yeah. There's no score or anything. And they could put that on the back of the box. This game is bloody and shit. Robo awesome.
That's what I'll know. I have officially made it as a unpaid video game journalist.
Yep. Put it on the back of the game.
Saying this game is bloody and shit.
Awesome.
So, do you think gamers are getting kind of bored of zombie games?
I don't think so. I mean, if you look at the kind of interest that we have in Dead Island, I think that's like, that in and of itself is testament to that people are not bored of zombie. They want more zombie games. I think, you know, a lot of people say, like, oh, well, there's been a lot of zombie games. There has to be zombie fatigue. But I guess my response to that would be, if there was zombie fatigue, why would so many people be excited about playing Dead Island? Or why would The Walking Dead be one of the top TV series on television?
Yeah.
Why would those things be so popular if it was so played out? You know what I mean?
Well, I was going to have a second part, and it said if you did think that way, then I was going to say, you think Dead Island can spice up their zombie game relationship and bring back players who might have grown tired of the genre?
I think Dead Island is so different than really any zombie game that has ever been out there. I think that's something we're really hoping for. I mean, it has a lot of things that I think people will, they'll have a lot of nostalgia about, playing with people in Left 4 Dead Online. People will love that. People will love the crafting. But then it also has so many things of its own that I think are totally new to the zombie genre that people will really find nice, like the fact that it's an RPG and it's a 20 to 30 hour game, and not like something that you can finish in a day. I think that'll be something that's really cool to people. So I mean, we're really hopeful that we will be able to deliver the zombie experience that everybody has always wanted.
I'm really looking forward to the RPG aspect of the game. That sounds really intriguing. I'm sick of all these go find chess pieces and stuff. Sorry, go ahead, Lucas.
Okay. Can you talk about the narrative aspect of the game, since we're dropping RPG labels here? I'm curious about the story.
One of the things I really like about Dead Island is when you start the game kind of sets the scene for you. Like, you are one of the four characters. You come to this island for one reason or another. One night there's a big party. One of the characters, Sam B, is this like washed up rapper from the U.S. and he was basically playing a gig at Royal Palms Resort. This is like the only type of gig he can get these days because he's like a one-hit wonder rapper. But he did it anyway just because he wants the money. So there's this big party. Sam B's rapping. And then all of a sudden kind of everything people start getting a little weird. People start attacking each other. Nobody really seems to know why, and that's kind of when the zombie outbreak starts. And when you start the game, you kind of know like what happened, and you are filled in on the fact that Cinemoy the lifeguard saved you because someone who he doesn't know told him that that he should save you, and you're immune, and you're the only one that can help them. So you have a lot of questions at the beginning of the game, like why is your character the only one that's immune? Who is this strange guy that keeps giving Cinemoy the lifeguard directions on what to do? How can they get off the island? Why is all this happening? So there's a lot of, it's kind of like a layered storyline. Like you're finding answers to all these questions as you go through the main storyline, which I really like. And then obviously everything kind of ties itself together at the end. But that's sort of what the narrative is going to be like. It's all about creating a lot of questions at the beginning and then solving them as you go through the main storyline.
So is there gonna? That kind of led to one of the questions I had. Is it going to be like a George Romero thing where it's not going to be like poof, they're zombies and we don't know why, or is there going to be actually a reason that we learn by the end?
You'll learn a reason by the end.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
there is a reason, but you don't learn it until really the end of the game. I mean, you might figure it out before the end of the game, but you won't learn the real reason until the end of the game. And then the interesting thing is you'll actually meet a lot of NPCs who have different theories about what's going on. So the NPCs are kind of arranged in, I guess, kind of like groups or cloisters. So you'll get a lot of, side quests and missions from these NPCs that have kind of like gathered together in these safe houses all over the island. And you'll be leading some of them to the safe houses. And then, when you get to know these NPCs, some of them will give you like their opinion on what the hell's going on. Like some people will think that it's, UFOs. Some people will think it's, this thing. Some people think it's that thing. So you'll be given like a lot of theories from people about what it is. But then, at the end of the game, you find out which one of them is right.
Sounds
Indeed.
intense.
Yeah.
The
So
mention of
like,
George Romero brings me into. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. It's hard to really say more about the story of Dead Island than that. Which is a shame because it's awesome, and I'd love to say more about it, but it's, I don't want to spoil anything. So it's really one of those things where, like, when people ask us about the story, the only thing we can really say is, well, it's a layered storyline and, it's complicated. Because, I mean, that's really all you can say without, like, totally ruining everything.
Right.
Right. Okay, so speaking of George Romero, I'm really curious, as personally a huge fan of zombie movies, specifically George Romero, is what you guys are doing with the sort of zombie mythology, like the established rules of, the typical movie zombie. There's always the whole running zombies versus walking zombies things, but, is there anything, like, especially wacky going on with your enemies here?
There are actually different classes of zombies. So our zombies aren't all, like, just one type of zombie and you're just basically mowing through people to get body count. One class of zombies is called the vessels, and they're more of like a slow, lumbering, like your traditional zombie. And then the next class up from that is called infected, and they're a lot faster, a lot stronger, a lot more aggressive. They'll run at you, whereas the vessels will just kind of like stagger at you. And you kind of have to use like different tactics to deal with both of them, because if the infected gets close to you, he's going to do like 3 hits in a row, like no problem. Whereas the vessel has more of a regular attack pattern. So a lot of times people will like to use a thrown weapon and take out the infected from afar first before they can get to you, concentrate on getting them down, and then go after the vessels that are in the area. So yeah, the team at Techland are really, really big zombie fans, and they've been into all, like 28 Days Later, they've been into all the different zombie games and movies, and they've taken a lot of inspiration from a lot of that. So I think people that are really into zombies and different types of zombies are going to see references to different things in the game, and it's going to be something that they'll enjoy.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
I was like, oh shit. What did you say?
So are you sure you can't talk to them and get them to just make it third person for me?
Yep.
We actually debated on whether we wanted it to be first person or third person. And the reason why we went with first person is because we want the game to be really immersive, and the atmosphere to be really tense. You just did not get that sense with a third person game. You know, when we tested the game in third person, it was so much easier to feel detached from the situation. It was so much easier to, I guess, kind of like mentally cope with being attacked by 5 zombies at a time. Whereas when it's in first person and you can't see them all at the same time, and you kind of have to keep looking around and seeing where they are, and you're kind of like, oh fuck, you know, I hear one, where the fuck is it? It's a lot scarier. It puts you in the situation a lot better. So that's ultimately why we went with first person.
That makes sense. I'm still a sad panda, though.
Oh, get over it. Just pop some pills and have fun.
Medication.
So, can you talk about why the logo was censored for American audiences?
So for American audiences, sometimes with things like box art and you know, any advertisements we do, we have to make sure that in terms of the level of offensiveness of the contents, we have to basically bring it down to a more general level, so that, you know, there may be people who are really, you know, think that the suggestion of violence by a hanging guy is really horrible and would be offended by that. So we needed to change it to comply with ESRB guidelines regarding stuff like that. So only for the box art, though, not the actual game logo. The actual game logo is going to stay as is, but in order to you know, comply with the ESRB's marketing guidelines, to make sure that we keep it as toned down as possible when it comes to things that anyone can see, like a 6-year-old walking through the store. We were compelled to change the hanging zombie on the front of the box into the stumbling zombie, but the game will be the same.
That kind of reminds me of like when that trailer first came out, how everyone was like crying to their mommies about the dead girl at the beginning, like, oh, we don't want to see dead children. Well, it's not like she's a real dead kid.
Right?
Yeah.
She's animated. Get over it.
Yeah. That's like how they made it so in Fallout 3 you couldn't kill kids anymore, but in the other two you could.
Lame.
Not that killing kids is like a pastime of mine or anything. But,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. I gotta go call the FBI real quick.
Hey, I'm not the one with the creepy voice.
Right?
Are you going to be seeing any like creepy dead children scenes in this game at all?
Actually, we couldn't do dead kids in the game. So we can say that there won't be dead kids in the game because we don't want the game to be banned everywhere.
Oh, just Australia?
Yeah, I guess that remains to be seen. But we don't want the game to be banned everywhere. So there were some lines we had to draw. Like, there's no dead kids in the game. There's no, although there are references, the family does make an appearance in the game. But they're not like main playable characters or anything like that. But obviously, you know, we had to draw some lines because the gore and the violence is so graphic. You know, you can't attack NPCs. You can't kill NPCs. So we had to draw the line there. And then obviously there are no dead children in the game.
No, they're zombie children.
No dead zombie children.
Oh,
Or
zombie
animal
children
children.
are scary. Oh my god. You see those movies with the little girl zombie, like, turning around a corner, and she's like, Mommy! And you're like, oh no, get away.
So what you're saying is when my twin ginger kids are born, I shouldn't train them to do that
No.
on command.
Well, you could. You could. That'd actually be pretty funny.
It'd be fun for parties and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Have you met my children yet? Oh, not yet. Oh, you will. When you're sleeping.
Oh. I have a question about. I read about the weather system and it sounded incredibly elaborate. So I was wondering if that's going to have any bearing on gameplay.
We're kind of tweaking how the weather system will ultimately wind up working. We're trying to decide whether it's going to be dependent on situation in the story or dependent on, like if it's going to be more random or how exactly it's going to work. But one thing I did notice is when it gets rainy and dark, it gets really dark. So you're going to wind up leaning on your flashlight a whole lot more than you are. You're never going to use it when you're out on the beach and it's sunny and gorgeous. But when it gets rainy, you're really going to, and a zombie could pop out at you from any corner that you turn in the city or wherever. You're going to need that flashlight. And then on top of that, the flashlight it's finite. It's rechargeable, but, it's not going to last forever. So you kind of have to, figure out how to conserve your resources and use your flashlight when it's most needed. So I think that really helps. And just from an overall, mood and atmosphere, it really, at least the sunshine and, when you're in the resort area, the sunshine and the waves and the beach have, they kind of take the edge off a little bit. Other than the fact that you're decapitating people left and right, they do kind of ease you into the whole hey, I'm murdering hundreds of zombie people. But then once you get into a situation where it's storming and raining and you can barely see, it really makes the mood that much more tense. So I think it definitely has an effect.
Can you use the flashlight as a weapon?
No.
Breaking my heart.
You sound so disappointed.
There are only thousands of other things to choose from.
Well, I'm just saying. Just think about it. You're walking through a hallway. You're scared as crap. You got the flashlight on. You turn a corner. There's a zombie there. I'm swinging that thing and then running. In fact, I might even throw it at the zombie. Just get the fuck away from me. Oh God. Just saying, real life experience,
Sorry. Could you go into more detail about how the crafting system works?
Yeah, so crafting is done at workbenches that are kind of, they're scattered throughout the island in different places. In order to craft, there's a couple things you could do at the workbench. The first thing you can do is repair your weapon. So if you have, a sickle that you've been using that, has really awesome stats and you want to keep using it, but it's almost broken, you can just take it to a workbench and repair it and get it back to 100%. Also, when weapons degrade, you can visually see the degradation. If you pick up a machete and you start using it, it's going to look pretty decent. But then, the more you use it, the bloodier it's going to get. It's going to get bends in it. It's going to get cracks in it. Some of the wooden weapons will actually, when they're totally broken, they will visibly break. So if you have a baseball bat, it'll visibly just break. But if you take weapons to a workbench, you can get them back to normal, and you can even upgrade them. So the game, you can pick money up off of, tourist zombies that you kill, and, that you find in different places or people's wallets or whatever. You can pick money up and you use the money. We use the money as a way to, get people using the workbench. So you're going to pay money in order to use the workbench. At the workbench, when you upgrade a weapon, say for example you pick up a hatchet, it's probably at level 1 going to be a rusty hatchet, but then as you upgrade it, it's going to get more and more pristine, looking totally gorgeous, perfect condition. So as you upgrade weapons, you're even going to see an increase in the quality of the weapon. And then finally, there's blueprints that you pick up all around the island. They're collectible items. Some of them are quest rewards. Some of them are in places that you're going to see if you just follow the main quest line. Some of them are in places where, you'll only really find them if you explore a little bit. So it kind of gives you a reason to, actually use the open world environment and don't just stick to, the main storyline. Actually go and explore and look around and stuff. When you pick up the blueprints basically say, okay, if you have a knife and then you have detergent and this other ingredient, which are all like normal items that you can find just on bodies or in bungalows or all around the island. You can pick them up. There's an unlimited inventory for those found items. You use those components in order to create whatever the blueprint is for, but obviously you have to have enough components. In terms of weapons, you can only pick up, like, there is a limited inventory for the number of weapons you can have equipped. But in terms of what you can have, like, in your bag, it's unlimited.
That's good to hear, because I hate, like, in games like Fallout when it's like, oh, you're too burdened, now you can't run, and you have to decide, like, what you're going to throw away.
Yeah. Or when I played Dead Rising 2, I was like, are you serious? I can only have, like, 4 things at once, including components? I was like, I could not deal with that whatsoever. Because, like I said, I'm a big crafting person, I really like that. But if I can only have 4 things, and some of them are components to make a weapon, and I have to still have a weapon and items to heal myself, there's just not enough room to really have a good experience and hold everything. So I kind of like that we are liberal with the amount of stuff you can carry around with you.
Really,
Definitely
in Dead Rising 2, your inventory should only consist of knife, gloves, and whiskey, so I don't really know what the problem is.
So, do you want to talk about Risen 2 for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
I know there's not, I really couldn't find a whole lot about it right now, except that it is a sequel to Risen 1.
Why should gamers want to pay attention to this title?
I don't know of any other pirate RPG, so if you like pirates and you like RPGs, that's probably one good reason.
Soul.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. RPG, guys.
Yar.
The
What if you like pirate hip hop? Like Captain Dan and his scurvy crew.
Piranha Bytes has a really long history of developing RPGs. They made the Gothic series on PC. When Risen 1 came out, when Risen 1 came out, it was actually really good. The PC version was really good, but when we ported it to 360, we did it way too fast, and the game really wasn't made technically to be a port to console, to be ported well to console. So this time, when designing Risen 2, we made a lot of changes with the way that the game is technically set up, so that it can be, it can be on a console a lot easier and kind of deal with the console's technological needs versus that of a PC. So you can have higher res textures for the consoles and stuff like that, without having to chop it up into too small of a section. But so yeah, we're really kind of designing it with consoles in mind from the beginning this time, which is really good.
Okay.
So we anticipate that the console versions are going to be awesome. We've had screenshots that we've looked at where we've taken PC and console, like, of the same exact shot and put them side by side, and you can barely see any difference. So we're really super excited about that. And I think there are things about the Risen world, that will still be in Risen 2, even though it's not the whole, like, medieval fantasy theme anymore. It's a pirate theme. It's still continuing the same storyline, and actually the reason why we went for a pirate RPG is because some of the most popular quests in Risen 1 were actually with a pirate family that we had in Risen 1. So we decided, everybody loved that part of Risen 1, so why don't we take that concept and basically make the sequel out of it. So we kind of jumped on things that the fans of Risen 1 already loved. And we felt like, it would be something really unique for us to do. There's no other pirate RPGs out there, so that would be a really cool theme to kind of explore. But it also, it has a lot of the things that I think make Risen a really awesome RPG series. Like, you're never going to find 2 areas that are, copy and paste areas. No recycled dungeons. Everything has a day and night cycle. All the NPCs, all the beasts have their routines that they follow throughout the day. and everything an NPC does, you can do. There's different factions to join, several different factions in Risen 2 that you can join, and kind of who you join up with kind of determines what skills you have available to you, which I think is pretty cool. Because it's sort of like the whole game is like a giant choose-your-own-adventure the whole way through.
I love those books.
So it's pretty open world?
Yeah. It's Risen 1 was totally it was one island where it was totally open world, but like I said, one of the things we wanted to do with Risen 2 to make it a better experience on the consoles. It's still open world, but it's split into a bunch of different islands now instead of one massive island. So that helps us a lot.
Will gamers be penalized if they haven't played the first one?
I don't think so. I mean, it kind of catches you up to what the hero's been up to at the beginning of the game. This is basically kind of like a second adventure. And all the stuff in the first game kind of happened, and then this is kind of like a separate situation. And it kind of catches you up at the beginning to what happened to the hero, who was you. So it fills you in.
You guys made a game about me?
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Sounds really interesting.
Is this another first-person game, or is this like a...
It's third person.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
So we're going to see more from that at E3, or is it still too early for that?
Yeah, at E3 we will be actually showing a console code to the press for the first time.
Ooh.
So that's going to be, and it's pretty early for us to be showing console code, so we're really excited that, I think it really says a lot that we're confident enough in the console code to be showing it this early.
Right.
So we're going to be doing that, and then obviously Gamescom is going to be a big event for us because it is pretty much on our home turf. So we'll make a big deal about Risen there. And I think you'll see a lot more about Risen in the upcoming months.
That sounds awesome.
Michael's going to be at E3. I think you met him last year.
Yep.
He wanted me to ask you if maybe you abducted and have Anthony Rodriguez tied up in your closet.
I did. I did for a while. But see, then, the cops kind of got wind that I might have him. And see, I have a lot of cats here, and I don't want, the cops to know about the cats. So I figured I could get rid of him. So, yeah. Unfortunately, I had to let him loose. I don't know if he actually made it back home because I didn't give him any shoes when he left. So,
we haven't heard from him in a long time, so that's why I was supposed to ask you.
Yeah, it may be my fault because I didn't give him shoes. So that's all I can say.
Oh, poor Jinx.
Who are we talking about? I'm kind of lost.
He was an old writer for the site that vanished one day.
Yeah. Never to be heard from again.
Thanks to someone I won't name. But, so what's your favorite kind of snuff film?
Wow. Yeah, no comment. I could act it out for you.
Oh, okay.
With you as the victim.
Oh.
And then the second part to that question is, if you had a pet goat, what would you name it?
Charlie.
Charlie?
Dinner.
I don't know if I'd be able to eat a goat, man. That's kind of fucked up.
I had barbecue goat once. It had a lot of bones in it, but it was actually pretty good.
Jessie lives in a swamp, so sometimes they don't have any other food to eat.
Oh, no way.
It was a soul food kitchen. It was, like I said, it was.
Soul food kitchen.
Yeah, it was a soul food kitchen. It was.
No goat with soul food.
Have you ever eaten squirrel?
Not yet, no.
Not yet? Like you actually have plans to eat squirrel?
I'd like to try to eat most living things. The exception would be like kitty cats, doggies, and peoples.
You know, when you said eating kitty cats, my innocent white kitten on the floor here picked her head up and looked at me.
Oh,
That's not cool.
I have kitty cats, but yeah, I don't want to eat cats or dogs or people. But other
Jeez.
animals, like pigs, they're cute and delicious.
Oh,
All right.
poor piggies.
And on that note, I need to go have dinner.
What you gonna have for dinner?
To be honest, it's going to be a totally vegetarian dinner now. Thank you very much.
Aw.
Thank you. Thank
Hey,
you.
I'm a vegetarian, so I say thank you also.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming to talk to us.
Thank you for having me, gentlemen.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks very much.
All right.
Have a good night.
See ya.
All right.